Kakalosh, Boker Tov, Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov. Okay, we're going to start on Daf Ayin Amud Aleph, 70A1. At the top, the two dots, it's basically the first line, the end of the first line, Ve'en notlin reshut, that we cannot take permission from the people of the Chatzer to permit carrying in the Chatzer. So says the Gemara, Lamali, why do I need this? Lotzicha, what are we dealing with? Afar gav de amri le kene al menat le'aknot, which means we need this case to teach us again that two people cannot take reshut, right? Even though one person came and he said kene, which means acquire the reshut in the Chatzer, right? In order to acquire afterwards to your friend, and then he's annulling it, which means that he's doing it to his friend, and then they continue going until the next person. So maybe you would say that it is okay, because it wasn't just that stam two people, it's everyone's going to annul it to the same person, but it took a turn. There was like a middle step in the middle. Still kamashmalan that it doesn't help. So my minea by meraba, by comes and he asks from Rabba, chamisha sheshurim b'chatzer echat. Imagine you have 5 people in one chatzer. V'shachach echad mehem v'lo yirev. One of them forgot, he didn't do an eruv. Keshu mevatel reshuto, when he's mevatel his reshut, tzarich levarech levatel lechol echad ve'echad. Or lo, does he have to annul to every single individual, only to one person? So again, one more time. 5 people living in the same chatzer, right? One of them forgot. So now he has to be mevatel his reshut in order to come and to be carrying in that courtyard. The question is, does he have to be mevatel his reshut to every single one of the individuals, or just to one and it's already enough? Okay? Samaleh, he answered, tzarich levatel lechol echad ve'echad. So comes Rabba and he answers the bayit to every single one, he has to annul his reshut. So we asked the question, Eitvei, we're going to ask a question, okay? The Braita is going to come and going to say 7 different halachot to do with bitul reshut. 7 halachot, okay? The number 7, remember, right? 7 is a very important number. Number 1, okay? Echad shelo yirev, right? When you have 3 people in one chatzer, and only 2 of them, 2 out of the 3, they did an eruv. So one of them that he did not do the eruv, he has to give his reshut to another person that he did do the eruv. So it's one person annulling it to another person. It doesn't say that he needs to do it to both. Number 2, shnayim she'ervu, 2 people that made an eruv, notrin reshutan le'echad shelo erev. Both of them could give the reshut to one person that did not do the eruv. Number 3, shnayim shelo ervu, when there are 2 people that did not do the eruv, notrin reshutan le'shnayim she'ervu. They could give their possessions to 2 people that did do the eruv in order to permit carrying inside of it. Or number 4, le'echad shelo yirev. 2 people could give to 1 person that did not do the eruv. Number 5, aval lo echad she'irev noten reshuto le'echad shelo yirev. 1 person that did not do the eruv cannot give to 1 person, right? Sorry, 1 person that did the eruv cannot give to 1 person that did not do the eruv. Okay, because of his friend that's still there. And 2 people that they did do the eruv cannot give over their reshut to 2 people that do not do the eruv. And number 7, 2 people that did not do the eruv cannot give it to 2 people that did not do the eruv. Okay, so if you didn't do the eruv, you can't give it to somebody that did not do the eruv. Okay, now all this was by the way. Why? Because all we needed was the first one. The first one said, Katani miya reisha, echad shelo erev, 1 person that did not do the eruv, noten reshut lo echad she'erev, could give his reshut to somebody that did do an eruv. Hey chidami, what's the case? If there's nobody around there, right? So bahadi manirev. So who's he doing the eruv with? Elapshita. Obviously, there's another person there. Uktani, and we learned le'echad she'irev. So it comes out that all you have to do is annul it to 1 person, not to every single person. So comes and he asks, Abaye asks Rabba, what are you telling me that if there's 5 people in the courtyard and 1 person forgot, he has to annul his property to every single one of the other people? Here it's written, only 1 person. He has to annul it to 1 person. That's it. Okay? So answers the Gemara, Rabba, according to Rabba, what are we dealing with? If we're talking about that there was a 3rd person there and he died, we're talking about that he was there, but he died. So once he died on Shabbat, so therefore there was only 2 people left. So once he's mevatel his reshut to one other person, it's already enough. So ask the Gemara, if we're talking about that he was there and then he died on Shabbat, let's see the Seifa. The Seifa says, somebody that did do an eruv cannot give over his reshut to somebody that did not do the eruv. If he actually died, amai lo, Why can't he annul his reshut? Right? Obviously, right? When there's only two people and one of them dies, gamarnu kadish. Ela pshita, obviously, they did that he's still there. So since the Seifa is talking about that he's still alive, so to the Reisha is talking about where he's still alive. So it says the Gemara, mide iria. What are you talking about? Do you really think that's the case? Hakadita, vakadita. Each case is different. The Reisha is talking about when he was there and he died, and the Seifa is talking about where he was still alive. So Teida, what's the proof? Tani Seifa the Reisha. What's the Seifa of the Reisha? Shnaim shelo irvu, which was the third case. Two people that did not do the Eruv. No, they could give their possession to somebody that did do the Eruv. To other two people that did do the Eruv. Leshnaim in. To two people, yeah. Yes. Lechad lo. To one person, no. So therefore, you see from here, this is a proof to Rabbah. Because Rabbah was coming in saying that you don't have to do a bitul to more than one person. So Abaye, according to Abaye, though, he says, what does it mean to shnaim? To one of the two people, not to both of them, to one of the two people. If so, just teach both. One that did do an eruv, one that didn't do an eruv. Kasha, it's a good question. You're right. It's a good question against Abaye. Okay? Fine. So somebody that did not do the eruv, he could give his reshut to somebody that did do the eruv. Abaye, according to Abaye, that we're talking about a case, right, that he's already there, he already has the reshut. The Kamashmalan comes teach you the en tzarich levater reshut lechol v'chad. You don't need to do it. The Rabbah, the Avamit, according to Rabbah, you do need to do that, but the guy died. Velo gazur zinin dite, and we're not going to make a gezerah that sometimes he's actually going to be there. Okay, fine. Next case, shnaim shervu, two people that did do an eruv, notrin reshutan lechad shelo yirev. So they give their reshut to somebody that did not do an eruv. So says the Gemara pshita, obviously. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, Kevin Deloy Rev, since he didn't make an eruv likan say, you shouldn't give him a knas, a penalty. Kamash Malanda, we don't give him a penalty. Fine. Third one, ushnaim shelo irvu notrin reshutan l'shnaim shirvu. Two people that did not do an eruv, they give their reshut to two people that did do an eruv. The Rabbah, according to Rabbah, Tana Seifa legului reisha. The Seifa is coming to reveal to us what is the reisha. With Abaye, and according to Abaye, shnaim shelo irvu itztichale. The two people that did not do an eruv, that's what we need. I would have thought to say that we're going to make a gezerah, that maybe we're going to annul it. Kamashmalan comes teach you that we don't make such a decree. Or two people that did not do an eruv could give to one person that did not do an eruv. Lamale, what do we need this case? So I would have thought to say one of these words, only if some of them did do an eruv and some of them didn't do an eruv. But if all of them did not do the eruv, just make a knas and give them a penalty. So they don't forget the concept of the eruv. Kamashmalan comes to teach you that we don't say that. But one person that did not do an eruv cannot give his reshut to some person that did not do an eruv. According to Abaye, the Seifa is teaching us the reisha. According to Rabbah, since we already taught in the reisha, we taught it also in the Seifa. Okay, next. Two people that did do an eruv, they could give their reshut to two people that did not do an eruv. Why do we need this case? So says the Gemara, what are we dealing with? One of them annulled it to his friend. So I would have thought to say that it's going to be permitted. But once when he annulled it, he still wasn't permitted to go in that chatzer. It doesn't help. Which means if I'm going to annul it to you, and at the time that I annul it to you, you still cannot use the chatzer, so therefore it doesn't help my bitul. Because at the time when I annul it to you, you have to be permitted to use the chatzer. The fact that you're not permitted to use the chatzer, it does not help the bitul. Two people that do not do an eruv are not able to give the reshut to two people that do not do an eruv. Why do I need this case? What are we dealing with? I tell you acquire it in order to acquire it for somebody else. So Rava comes and he asks Rav Nachman, Yoresh Maushi Vatel Reshut. If somebody comes and somebody passes away on Shabbat, and the children, they inherit, is he allowed to be Vatel his Reshut? Yeah or not? Aina Mudbet. So Heichadi Baye Laruvem Etmol Matzim Arev. If you could have done the Eruv yesterday, so then you could do it. So Batul Inami, so then you could be Mvatel as well. Avalahai, but here, he wouldn't have been able to do an Eruv yesterday. It wasn't his, it was his father's. So lo mevatel mevatel, he can't be mevatel. Or dilmar, maybe I'm going to say no. Yoresh kare davuahu, that an inheritor is like the legs of his father, and therefore he could. Samale, so he comes and he says, Ani Omer, I'm going to tell you, mevatel, you can be mevatel. V'had v'ebi Shemuel tanu, and the way Shemuel taught, en mevatel, you cannot be mevatel. So 8 ways, so we're going to ask the following question. Zakelal, this is a general rule. Kol shemutar lemiktzat Shabbat, mutar lechol Shabbat. Anything which is permitted for part of the Shabbat is going to be permitted for the entire Shabbat. V'chol shene'esar lemiktzat Shabbat. Anything which is going to be prohibited for part of the Shabbat is prohibited for the entire Shabbat, except for mevatel reshut. So you see from here that the general rule is that mevatel reshut, even if it's going to be prohibited or whatever it is, we do permit it, and even in the middle of the Shabbat. So says the Gemara, what's the case that it was permitted for part of the Shabbat, it's going to be permitted the entire Shabbat? For example, if you made an eruv derech petach, by the entrance, when he sama petach, and all of a sudden on Shabbat, the petach was jammed closed. Whether it was that something fell on it, or whatever it is, that all of a sudden it blocked the entrance. Irev derech halon.
Petach?
Petach is an entrance. The door, an entrance. For example, let's say you put your eruv by the entrance, and then all of a sudden it crashed down, and all of a sudden the entire entrance was closed. Or the same halakha would apply to a window. Irev derech halon, you did it by a window, and you sama halon, and then the window broke, or something happened to the window, and now you can't use the window. So that's the general rule. Or, for example, what happens if you did it in a mavui, in a passageway, in a thoroughfare, right? Remember that the mavui was like a side street that went to the chatzerot, to the courtyards. And in the courtyards, you had different people living in the courtyards. So he says, what happened now if the side post or the top beam, the lechi or the korah, the side post or the top beam was removed on Shabbat? So now, right, what happened was, though, that it was permitted for part of the Shabbat. So says the Gemara, fine, let's go to the next case then. Kol shene'esar lemiktzat Shabbat, something which was prohibited for part of the Shabbat, is ne'esar, is going to be prohibited lechol shana kula, for the entire year. Kigon, what's the example? Shne batim mishne tzidei reshut rabim. We're talking about two houses on two different parts of the reshut rabim. I'm going to show you now. This is the case. Everyone sees it? Two houses on two different parts of the reshut rabim. The goyim came and they put a mechitza on Shabbat. So the goyim came and they blocked it off. Yeah, they blocked it off. So it says, in such a case, even though it became permitted for them to come and to start caring if this was like this before Shabbat, the fact that it was only made on Shabbat, once it was prohibited on Shabbat, it's prohibited now as well. Okay? So this is the general rule. What is it coming to include? To include umet nochri b'Shabbat. If the goy died on Shabbat. So even though he died, they cannot annul his reshut to each other and then be metaltel in the chatzer. So if you had a case where the goy was in the chatzer, no, that's the next case, okay? If you had a case where, for example, the goy lived in the chatzer, and when the goy lived in the chatzer, which means he lived in the courtyard, he never wanted them to do an eruv. All of a sudden, he dropped dead on Shabbat. So now when he dies on Shabbat, I cannot annul my reshut to my friend, and now we could carry. Why? Because once it was prohibited on Shabbat, it was prohibited on Shabbat. But we learned, but it's only he could do it, but not as Yoresh. A Yoresh, a person that's an inheritor, that he inherits his property on Shabbat, he cannot be Mvatel. So answers the Gemara, from the Torah bitur reshut, which means that you have the concept of being Mvatel reshut, that you're allowed to do that even in the middle of Shabbat. You could annul your property to someone else in order to carry. So 8th way, they're going to ask, what happens if one of the people in the courtyard died? And he gave his property to somebody from the marketplace. If it was done during the day, or said he's going to prohibit. Once it became Knisat Shabbat, the onset of Shabbat started, Eno said it's not going to prohibit. But somebody in the marketplace that died, he gave his reshut to one of the people of the courtyard. If it was done during the day, it's not going to prohibit. If it's done at nighttime, right, it is going to prohibit. Osed. Amayo said, why is it going to prohibit it? Just vatel, annul it, and that's it. So says the Gemara, Mayo said, what does it mean, Osed? Nami diktani, Ad shivatel. He has to be vatel his reshut. Okay? So Tashema, we're going to learn also in a Braita, Yisrael veger she'ashurim b'megira achat. If you have a Jew and a ger, which are living in the same place, it says over here they're living in different rooms, right? But it's inside of the goren. It's inside of the granary, and they made an eruv together. Umeta ger, and then the ger comes and he dies. Mibeod yom, if it was done before Shabbat, the ger dies. Af al pi she'chzik Yisrael acher b'nechasav oser. Even though another Jew comes and he takes a property, it's going to prohibit it. Once it was night time, even though he wasn't, it's not oser. Which means like this. Remember, a convert has no family. Right? People don't realize this. A convert has no family. So therefore, since he has no family, let's say he converted, and what happened was he didn't have children after the conversion. Because remember, if he had to convert the children are also not Jewish, they're not his children. You understand? It has to be, and therefore he has no inheritors. So imagine right now you have a person, right, that he converts, and he passes away. Yeah, what happens is any Jew could go take his property, and it becomes their property. It becomes theirs. Why?
Well,
because there's no family, right? There has to be a family. Yeah, the same halacha would apply, right? The other way around, which means let's say he had children, and then he converted, and now he converted his children. Remember that conversions apply that now they're not his. So therefore, those children are not really his children. He would have to make like a special type of halachic will in order that the children would be able to inherit. Because if not, his children don't inherit him, right? I know of a certain case that the brother would inherit. Why? Because basically the guy who has children, but he converted the children. So since the person converted the children, right, the brother inherited, right, the brother. Why? Mitzad the Torah, a wife does not inherit. So even if she was converted and then he got married to her, a wife does not inherit mina Torah. Okay, so therefore, who does it go to? Children. If there's no children, it goes to his brothers and sisters, right? Or first the father, obviously, the father and mother, right? Or not the mother, but the father. If there's no father, then it's the brothers and sisters. If there's no brothers and sisters, it would go to his nephews. You understand? So mamash, like, it goes according to the logistics. So here, this ger, when he passes away, and that's what we're trying to say here, if another Jew came and grabbed the properties, he's going to prohibit upon the other Jews there. Why? Because now it belongs to another Jew. And that's it. But if it was after nighttime and then everyone had their eruv, so then even though another Jew comes and grabs onto or he doesn't grab onto the properties, it's not going to prohibit it. Right? And then we're going to explain obviously why Bezat Hashem tomorrow. Okay? So Bezat Hashem tomorrow we continue. Bezat Hashem Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph.